Right now, the hashtag #FitTheDescription is bubbling up on social media, inspiring even more calls for the kind of police training we talked about earlier this hour. And here's why. According to 51-year-old Charles Belk, he was just walking in Beverly Hills last Friday when he was detained, surrounded by 6 police cars, handcuffed, fully searched for weapons. And within an hour, Belk says he was photographed, fingerprinted, and put under a $100,000 bail and accused of armed bank robbery. All because, in his words, he was misidentified as the wrong, tall, bald-head black male who was, quote, fitting the description. Belk was eventually cleared and released 6 hours later. Beverly Hills PD says it, quote, deeply regrets the inconvenience to Mr. Belk. However, officers properly detained and arrested him based on the totality of the circumstances known at the time of the field investigation. And Charles Belk joins me now from Los Angeles. And Mr. Belk, first of all, I think we should ask, what were you doing? What were you doing that day?
Earlier that day, and hi, Joy, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I wanted to start off by just offering my condolences to the parents of Mike Brown and the parents of all sons, daughters, and sons and daughters that have actually lost their lives in that condition. My circumstances were a little bit more fortunate, thank God. But earlier that day, I had been at a gifting suite, which is, you know, common around award season, where you would bring in celebrities and different venues, different vendors will give them product. And so we were at a gifting suite, and then I went to stop and get something to eat before I went to another event that evening.
And you wrote a really lengthy and poignant Facebook post in which you detail the situation, detail your own background, saying clearly the police wouldn't have known that, but that you'd never had any issues with the law, and that you were actually going to your car to pay up your parking meter so that you wouldn't break the law by overstaying your parking. First of all, the officers, after the 6-hour-long wait, after they finally realized that you were not the guy who'd robbed the bank, what did the officers say to you?
It was the detective and 2 FBI agents, and you know, it was an interesting process because, as I mentioned, I was not allowed to make a phone call. I was not allowed to. They did not tell me why I was actually being arrested or charged for. They would not let me speak with my attorney for easily over an hour while he was out waiting. So when they called me in about 5 or 6 hours later to talk with me, the FBI agents and the LAPD detective, I'm sorry, the Beverly Hills Police Department detective, I asked them, they told me what I was in there for, that I had been seen going to and from an ATM machine several times inside of the bank to cause confusion. And I looked at them and I said, well, clearly you guys saw in the video that it was not me. And they said they had not reviewed the video, and at that point I could not believe it. I was like, I had spent 6 hours of my life in jail, taking my rights completely taken away from me, and they could have easily verified that within minutes on the scene.
And one of the things that really struck me in your Facebook post is you said that at the time that the police, you know, went after you, that but for a text or a phone call that you had on your phone, you might have been running from the police.
Absolutely. I was so concerned about I hate parking tickets. I was so concerned about getting back to the meter so I wouldn't break the law that I would have normally ran back to my car. I was not running. A text came in. I was looking down at my text, casually walking. I'm very fearful and thankful that I wasn't running. I probably would not be sitting here today, I think, telling this story.
And what message do you take away from this? Is it something to do with police training? Is it that they're just not informing themselves fully about who they're looking for? I mean, the idea that it took hours for them to actually look at the video to see if that looked like you, that sounds really shocking, especially since you were fingerprinted and treated to the full battery of arrests, including bail being set.
Yeah, I think, Joy, the message for me, because folks, you know, have told me, hey, just look at this experience and learn. And the problem with that is there's absolutely nothing that I can personally do differently that wouldn't guarantee this exact same thing wouldn't happen to me again. The description that I fit was apparently a tall, black, bald-headed male. And I'm going to be that. So it's hard to kind of get away from that description. The interesting point that I think I noticed is that I'm trying to create awareness that, one, we don't all fit the description. Two, there is a sense of trying to give a voice to all of the black males out there that have not had that voice, either because their lives were taken, or they weren't afforded the resources that I was lucky to have while I was in jail. And I contend to this day that if it wasn't for my friend who saw me there, who called my friend from the NAACP Hollywood Bureau, who then called an attorney, I would still be sitting there to this day. They were not hearing anything that I said.
An amazing, harrowing story. We are glad that you walked away from it safely. But yeah, indeed, I think it's a profound message and important. Charles Belk, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.